Hey guys, Troy Francis here. Welcome to a live stream, first live stream of 2024, in fact, on this channel. And we're going to be talking about 10 dumb mistakes that women make in dating. I reckoned, look, it's a new year. For me, it's the first week back. Last week, I was getting some dental work done in that rather dull, quiet sort of first week of the year that we all have. That is all done now, thank God. So back in London and ready to rock and roll. And I thought, you know what? We need to go into this year and we need to be giving some practical, actionable advice to you guys about dating because it's tough out there, okay? It's tough for guys, as we know, but it's also tough for women. And I thought for the inaugural show of 2024, we concentrate on the ladies and we talk about some of the stupid things that women do in dating because, believe me, there is a lot of them, okay? And so we're going to be going through 10 of the top ones in the episode today, so be ready for that. We're going to be going into some detail about why modern women are getting it wrong as far as dating is concerned. And yeah, so with that being said, parish notices, please do subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. This is my new channel. On this, we're going to be concentrating, much more on the live stream side of things. We're going to be giving advice to men about how to get better in dating in 2024, but also to women as well. And what we really want to be doing is getting you guys online and doing some call-ins, okay? So if you've got an issue with dating, if you've got an issue with, you're not meeting the people you want to meet, you're not getting the success you want to have, whether you're a man or a woman, but, particularly encouraging women to phone in, because that I think would be very interesting and educational for all of us, then you can drop me an email, troy@realtroyfrancis.com, and we will get you on, okay? So with that being said, do subscribe to the channel, do give me a like, do share this channel with your friends and family so that we can hit the 1,000 subscriber mark and then we can go forward and take this thing to glory, which it deserves. Because modern dating, let's face it, it's very important to all of us. The thing with, when you're talking about dating, you're a male dating coach, right? A couple of things get thrown at you. One, it's sort of misogynistic because in some way it's manipulative or something. I disagree with that, of course. And anyway, on this channel, we're going to be talking to both genders. This isn't just about guys getting girls. It's also about girls and what girls should be doing in order to, get the kind of dating life they want. And the other thing that gets thrown at you is it's a bit trivial. It's a bit shallow. People saying, well, hang on a minute, dude. Why are you not interested in anything else? Is there nothing else that you want to talk about? And it's like, well, actually, yeah. I'm interested in loads of different things. But the reality is that your sexual and romantic life is, for most people, it's really the most important element of your entire existence, right? How you do with women, the relationships you get into, the sex life you have or don't have, the marriage you have or you don't have, the kids that the family that you may or may not want to create. All of this stuff is super key. These are really the fundamental aspects of life. So this stuff actually is extremely important and it needs to be examined, particularly now when things are very, very difficult. Anyway, with that being said, if you've got any comments or any questions, then please put them into the chat. We can see Mr. Raging Tomato there already, who said hi. Good to see you, bro. Anybody else, if you've got anything that you want me to cover in this stream, or any comments or anything that you want me to talk about, just put it into the chat and we'll deal with it as we go through. Okay, so 10 dumb mistakes women make in dating. Okay, number one is lack of being in shape, lack of physical fitness. Okay, basically, girls, you're too damn fat. Okay, guys do not like women who are overweight. Guys are primarily attracted to women's aesthetic, right? To women's physicality. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm not saying it's fair. I'm not saying it's laudable. I'm not saying it's nice, but it is the reality. Men are very visual creatures. We are attracted to women who are sexually attractive, and what that means is you are slim, you're in good shape, you've got a decent body, you look after yourself, okay? In the West, and I'm counting the United Kingdom as well as the United States and all the rest of the Anglosphere countries, really, and a lot of Europe now, to be honest, as well, particularly Western Europe. too many of us are out of shape, right? Too many of us are overweight. I've just been hearing reports over the holiday period about the obesity crisis. I was actually listening to something on the radio, LBC in London the other night, where they had a doctor on who's basically calling for fat acceptance, or this idea that, look, the prevailing trend is people are getting obese, okay? People are getting more and more overweight. So instead of fighting the tide, we should just all accept that, and we should just say, okay, people are fat, fine, it is what it is. Let's make allowances for them. Let's change the size of airport, seats on aircraft, all this kind of thing, so that people just feel more comfortable with their larger body shape. Obviously, there's a lot of people who push back on that and say that's absolute nonsense, because really, you should just be losing weight or not eating as much in the first place, okay? But in the culture, there is this sort of prevailing kind of body positivity vibe going on. There is this push for the acceptance of larger and larger human bodies, all right? If you are a woman and you're looking to date, you're looking to get a high-tier man, okay? That shit is not going to fly, okay? It might fly on social media. It might look good when you post TikToks or you post little videos on Instagram talking about how you love yourself and how you're beautiful regardless of your size and how everyone should accept your size and blah, blah, blah. In the cruel, harsh reality of the modern dating marketplace, right, the top tier guys that you want, and you do all want these top tier guys, okay? You don't want no scrubs, as the song says. Those guys are not going to be playing around with a chick who is overweight, okay? They do not want fat girls. You need to be in shape, okay? You are the product. It's like I say to men, right? In dating, you are the product, and then your game, as far as men are concerned, is the marketing, okay? As a woman, there's much more focus. You don't have to go out and be proactive in the same way that men do, necessarily, but you do need to make sure that the product is in tip-top shape, okay? When you go to high-class areas, like in London, if you go to Chelsea, or you go to Mayfair, or if, say, you're in Miami and you go to Brickell, you see all of these girls who are affluent, and they're obviously getting money from somewhere, I would imagine. In many cases, they have pretty high-value boyfriends, okay? These girls are going around wearing yoga pants. They're drinking water. They're drinking protein shakes, okay? They are looking after themselves. They're keeping themselves in tip-top physical condition because they're smart enough to understand that, look, this is what the market wants, okay? This is what these high-value dudes want. They want a girl who is slim, who is in good shape. They don't want a buffalo, okay? So, again, I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's fair, but this is the reality. Don't be a buffalo. Don't be fat. That has got to be rule number one, okay? So if that is an issue for you, if you feel like you're not in good shape, or I say feel like, I mean, come on, we all kind of know, basically, right? If you know that really you're not in the shape that you could be, then you need to work on that, and you need to make that your number one priority, okay? We're in January now. This is the time for New Year's resolutions. This is the time that everyone goes down the gym. You want to go down the gym, but you want to be that outlier who actually stays in the gym and carries on working out and really gets into good shape. And remember as well, and I'm not in any way I'm not a health and fitness expert by any means, but I do know this because I have a personal trainer and I have various people that have advised me on this stuff over the years. It really is 70% or 80% about what you eat, okay? So yes, exercise is very important. You should be working out. You should be working out daily, okay? Or at least, 5-6 times a week, whatever, 4, 5, 6 times a week. Minimum, and you should be getting your steps in as well, 10,000 steps a day, all that kind of good stuff. But if you're eating a load of crap as well, then it's going to have a limited effect, okay? So you need to really watch your diet. You need to be doing the exercise, okay? But you need to be doing your diet. Now, I've dated, I've been around a bit. I've dated like quite a large number of different women, mainly younger women, and it's kind of shocking actually how many of them really just rely on their genetics to get by, and don't actually exercise as much as they could. I mean, I was dating a woman a few years back and, great figure, very slim, very slender, looked fantastic in dresses and so on and so forth. And she did exercise, to be fair. She did a little bit of this, a little bit of that. She did a little bit of yoga, but she wasn't really doing it properly. She wasn't really properly engaging with it. And I've known other girls like that as well. And I think that they kind of, when you're in your 20s, you can kind of skate by on that a little bit. If you're blessed with a slim figure, you can kind of, you're off the hook a little bit as far as actually having to do much work is concerned. But that's a very bad attitude to have, because as you get into your later 20s, when you're wanting to consolidate, meet that guy and, you know, make something happen, you're going to be in trouble. It's going to be harder and harder to maintain that physical prowess, okay, that you had before. So get into the habit of exercising, whether that's going to classes, I mean, going to the gym, doing weights, doing resistance, doing cardio, getting a personal trainer, whatever it is. Get into the habit of doing that regularly. Make sure your nutrition is on point, okay? Make sure that you're not eating too many carbs, too much sugar, all of those things that are going to make you fat. It's basically calories in, calories out, isn't it? You know, you don't need me to tell you this, but make sure you're on top of that. You're drinking enough water, you're getting your vitamins, all that kind of stuff. Basically, the figure has got to be good, okay? This is kind of, you've got to look good. If you want to get on the yacht with Drake, you know, and I was with a girl recently in Milan, in Italy, who was literally, she's been to parties on yachts with Drake and other high-profile entertainers like that. She is very slim. She looks great in a bikini, okay? It's not rocket science, guys. This is what you got to do, okay? So that's number one. Don't be fat. We have Endless, the spokesman, here saying, South Africa in the building. Good to see you. And Raging Tomato. I miss Tomato, not Mister. We did a speed date together on Playing with Fire. Glad I'm so memorable. Yes, good to see you. Good to see you, Miss Tomato. Thank you very much for tuning in. I don't know whether you've got any thoughts on this as a woman. If you've got any sort of feedback. I mean, obviously, some people are going to watch this and go, "What do you mean? You know, don't be fat. It's all about body positivity and accepting yourself and blah blah blah." All I'm saying is that you've got to be realistic about what the market wants, and the market, certainly as far as the high value dudes are concerned, do not want fat chicks. Okay, so that's the first thing. Number two, and this is an endemic problem which is underlying the whole quagmire of the dating marketplace that we currently have, is you have too high expectations as a woman, okay? As a woman, this is obviously aimed at you guys. Your expectations are likely too high, okay? You have been brainwashed by social media and Instagram and TikTok and all the rest of it to think that you deserve a guy who is 6'4", who is earning over six figures, and who has six-pack abs and all the rest of it. You know, the 666. And you can add another 6 for the, you know, the penis size as well. You have been brainwashed by the culture and by society to think that you deserve that guy, okay? But, and this is what's revealed on all of these different panel shows, Fresh and Fit, the Pre-Game with Pearl, the Whatever podcast, all of these different things, right? What we see time and again is women saying that they want this particular kind of guy, who is the very, very top, very elite guy. But those women clearly do not measure up to what that top elite guy would want, okay? You have to recognize, just as men have to recognize, this is a marketplace. It's an economic vector, right? It's about demand and supply. You're looking at the very top elite guys, okay? There's only a very small proportion of those dudes around. It's literally, well, you're talking top 1%, top 5% maybe of guys, okay? The majority of guys do not fit into the template that you want, okay? So obviously, right, there's competition for those guys at the top because there's very few of them, all right? Simple demand and supply. Supply is low of those guys. Competition is high, all right? What you need to do as a woman is think, okay, so what do I want? All right. Now, for many women, I'm not saying everybody, but for many women, what it's about is, okay, in the end, I want to find a guy who's going to be a good father, somebody that I can settle down with and I can create a life with. Okay. That is the case for, I would say, the majority of women. I'm not saying every woman, but I think the majority of women, they do want that somewhere in the back of their mind. Now, the problem for you guys is that you've got this pesky dual mating strategy thing going on, which basically blurs the lines, because what it means is that that's kind of that's the end game. That's the sort of, that's the North Star that you're aiming towards, you know. But in the interim, you also want to have sex with the sexy kind of devil-may-care dude who is probably not good dad material, who's probably not the kind of dude that's going to hang around and be the provider and go to IKEA on Saturdays, okay, because he's having too much fun. You want to fuck that guy, But you also want to, the dual perspective is that you also want to find this provider guy as well. And you're trying to find it in the same dude. And sometimes, you can be somewhat successful in that, okay? Some women are lucky and they kind of find somebody who sort of kind of checks both of those boxes to some extent. But it's a very, very difficult thing, and most women do fail at it, okay? So what happens is that most women, well, in their 20s, sort of late teens and 20s, will party, go out in Vegas, go to the pool party, fuck the alpha dudes, the ripped, jerk boy, charismatic guys who aren't there to settle down. They're not looking for Miss Right. They're looking for Miss Right now. They will happily have sex with those guys, and then they reach the shores of their 30s, and they're like, oh shit, I should really have consolidated. I should have, locked down one of these dudes, or I should have met a guy who was a bit more responsible, who could offer me more of the life that I actually want. Okay. The problem that you've got is that you're fighting biology here, right? Because the biological urge is driving you in both of these directions. And when you're younger, as a woman, it's driving you more in the direction of the jerk boy Chad, rather than the sensible guy who's going to look after the kids and pay the mortgage, okay? You can't help that, but you can certainly be aware of it, and you can certainly try to push against it, because the problem that you've got is, as a woman, your 20s, your late teens, your 20s are great, but you're only really talking about a decade or, 15 years at most, really in the sun, in the glorious, bright, hot, white heat of your highest sexual market value. 10 years, 15 years maybe, okay? And after that, then there's the rest of your life, and that's going to go on for a pretty long time, and you're not going to be as sexually desired as you were. You're not going to be as held in as high esteem by the male population. You're not going to be as sought after, okay? And you're also going to be then competing with all the women who are younger than you as well. So at some point, you have to think, okay, so what do I actually want here? Yes, of course, when I'm on Tinder, I'm only swiping on 5% of the guys, and those guys, those are the super hot guys. But I'm in competition with every other woman on Tinder as well, because those are the only guys that they want. And in the end, yes, it's great to have sex to satisfy that urge with these dudes, but really, probably the bigger life plan is actually something a bit more solid than that, okay? And you've got to look at yourself in the mirror, and we say this to guys as well, okay? So this isn't having a pop at women unnecessarily. We say this to dudes. You've got to look in the mirror realistically and say, okay, if I was that top 1% guy, would I date me, really? Given the competition that's around, given the other people that are out there, would I actually date myself, okay? And if the answer to that question, being super, super honest, if the answer to that question is no, then you basically have two choices. You're either going to level up and work on self-improvement, and I think this is actually something that's kind of lacking for women, as far as I can see. There seems to be less emphasis on self-improvement for women. There's a lot of emphasis on self-improvement for men. We have a lot of shows, podcasts, YouTube channels, and all this kind of stuff, telling men to level up, telling men to self-improve. I see less of it for women. Okay? Not that it doesn't exist, but there's less of it out there for women. And actually, you do need to self-improve. You do need to be working on your physique. You need to be working on... And look, the one thing that women do well is they work on their beauty, okay? I mean, you guys are great at that, so I don't need to tell you anything about that. But, you need to be going to the gym, like we said. You need to be keeping in shape, okay? You need to be dressing well. You need to be emanating a degree of femininity that a lot of women in the West today are not emanating. Okay, you need to be somewhat sweet. You need to be somewhat supportive of the guy. You need to be somebody that he actually wants to spend time with. You don't want to be too combative, right? Sarcasm is not attractive. Okay, it's not an attractive trait. Being a ball breaker is not attractive. Okay. So you do need to level up. You do need to self-improve, but you also need to be realistic and look at yourself and think, well, actually, look, maybe I'm actually just a bit of an average chick. And really, I may want this top tier guy, but realistically, maybe I'm going to have to settle a little bit lower. And it's a pragmatic thing. And as I say, it's not easy, but you've got to think, what is the end game here? Okay. Do you want to end up with somebody who's here rather than here? or do you want to end up with nothing? And I would say it's going to be better for you to end up with somebody who's more on your level. So managing your own expectations and not having too high expectations in dating is super, super key. Because look, remember, guys get horny. Okay, a guy gets horny. If you can probably, if you're at, say, a mid kind of but semi-attractive girl, you can probably get sexual access to a guy who is several points above you. If, you know, he's feeling horny, it's late at night, maybe his other options of, you know, they're out of town or whatever, and he's like, yeah, okay, I'm on Tinder, I'll get this girl over, we'll have some fun, fine, okay? Is that guy actually going to settle for you, though? Is that guy actually going to be there for the longer term? Is that guy actually going to be the one who's going to, you know, facilitate the other things that you want in life, which are more important than a quick shag? Probably not. So again, manage your own expectations and be very realistic, be brutally realistic with yourself about where you sit in the dating order. Number 3, dumb mistakes that women make in dating. And this one is kind of related to the last one, really. And that is that they will entertain F-boy energy or entertain fuckboy energy, okay? It's just kind of, there's a lot of memes about this stuff. If you look at social media, you get a kind of meme where there's like the super good boy who's like trying to really ingratiating himself and talking to the, you know, oh, you know, I love you, I really understand you, and blah, blah, blah. And then in the next frame, she says, yeah, I see you as a friend, okay? And then she's banging the guy who's the Chad, who doesn't give a damn, who calls her at 2 in the morning and, you know, never takes her out and doesn't care about her and whatever, okay? And it's such a commonly known thing that it's actually a bit of a meme, right? And women will laugh about this stuff, and we will kind of know this is how women operate, particularly when they're younger women, whether we're male or female. We all kind of know this stuff, but women will keep continually making the same mistakes, okay? And what is the definition of insanity? The definition of insanity is making the same mistake over and over again and expecting a different result. And this is what you guys do. And I'm talking to the women. This is what you guys do. You will consistently go for these fuckboys over guys who are going to offer you the thing that probably really in the end you actually want, which is more stability, more commitment, and something a bit richer and a bit deeper, okay? Now, that's not necessarily bad news for the likes of me, because if you present as one of these fuckboys, that means you can enjoy the fruits of the dating marketplace. And that's all very good, and it can be all very fun for both parties, right? Because, yeah, sure, I mean, the girl likes the guy who's bringing a bit of drama. The girl likes the guy who's maybe not so conventional, not so playing it safe, who's more prepared to take risks, who brings a little bit of sort of emotional kind of conflict into her life, a little bit of excitement, a little bit of that soap opera telenova kind of vibe into her existence. That's all great from the feels point of view, but longer term, again, is that really what you want? And you guys will keep falling into this same pattern. You'll keep falling into this same mistake, even though you know that you're doing it. And that's the tragic thing, or the tragicomic thing about this, okay? And you'll do this, and you this is key, you won't push for commitment. Now, pushing for commitment is a tricky one. It needs to be approached with care, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But you are prepared to go along with a situationship with a guy who is you regard as hot. Okay, you're prepared to be in a situationship with him, and you're not going to raise the issue of commitment because you know that if you do, there's a chance he's just going to say, "All right, to hell with you. On to the next one," okay? So you're too scared to raise this issue about commitment, even though that's actually what you want. And really, because you've only got a finite amount of time here, because as we said, you know, you've got 10 years, 15 years in the sun before you start to not become unattractive, but, you know, there are other young, hot women who are coming up and you're starting to age out. Your prime fertility is fading, okay? You've got finite time, and what you can't really afford to do is to waste too much time on a guy who's clearly really just a bit of a fuckboy who's there for the sex, who's there for the good feelings or whatever, but he has no serious intentions towards you, okay? You can't entertain that for too long. And too many women do this, you know, and you get these situationships that go on literally for years, and people split up and then they get back together and then they split up again and blah, blah, blah. And it just goes on like this soap opera, this ongoing kind of saga forevermore. So don't do that. However, and this is point number 4 of dumb things that women do in dating in 2024, what you should also avoid doing is staying too long in a relationship that is just comfortable, okay? And this is kind of the other side of the coin, because yes, women love the fuckboy energy, but also there are also women who will get into a relationship with a guy, you know, maybe they were at college together or whatever, you know, they met at work or they met on a dating site, and they've been together typically sort of 2, 3, 4 years, something like that. And this is one of those relationships where the spark has actually died, okay? The spark has actually clearly gone, okay? Clearly the passion isn't there anymore. Clearly the sort of the initial excitement has worn off. And that's fine, by the way, because that's going to happen in any relationship. But, you know, it's not what it was. And you don't really want a future with this guy. Okay, yes, he's nice, but he's not really setting the world on fire. And maybe there's other things going on as well. Maybe, you know, his career is not where you would want it to be, because actually you want to be with a bit more of a baller. Maybe he's just sort of coasting along. You guys are both getting lazy in terms of the relationship. Okay, now comfort and feeling comfortable with somebody is a huge incentive to stay with them, okay? But if you know in your heart of hearts that actually this dude is not really going to be ticking the boxes, then again, you shouldn't let that go on for too long, okay? Because you've only got finite time, all right? So again, what's so important, and this again, true for guys also, is knowing when to cut and run, okay? Knowing when to walk away from the table is super, super important, okay? And too many women don't do this, you know. And by the way, look, I'm not saying that if you found a good man and he is ticking all the boxes, that you should just walk away just for the sake of it, just because the passion's died down a little bit, because that's kind of, in fact, really what you should be doing is looking to save that relationship. What I'm saying is, if you've fallen into a relationship with a dude who plainly is a bit of a chump, but you're just there because it feels good and the idea of splitting up feels painful to you, that's not a good place to be either, because it's just going to breed resentment down the road, okay? So again, knowing when to extricate yourself and being able to leave situations more quickly than you currently do is a very, very great skill to hone, and it's definitely something you want to think about, because I've seen a lot of girls in that situation as well. You know, they're with a guy, they're clearly not into it anymore, and they know at some point, and I suppose this is the key point, right? They know at some point they're going to break up, okay? They know that they're going to, at some point they're going to leave. They just don't want to do it now because it's too difficult to think about doing it. If you're in that situation, you need to summon up your balls, or your metaphorical balls, because you don't have any, and you need to take action. You need to get out of that situation, okay? It's no good. And there's no excuses now, because we're through the holidays, we're through Christmas, we're into the new year. Now is the time. And I think actually, isn't January the time when there's the most breakups and so on? Now is the time anyway. You need to, you need to cast that aside and move forward and find the person who you're actually gonna be with. Okay. Number 5, and this is another somewhat related point, is of dumb mistakes that women make in dating, is believing everything they see on social media, okay? And believing, therefore, that they are worthy of everything they see on social media. This is a larger point that affects society in general, and that is that we are, all of us, spending all of our time on our phones looking at the curated existences of other people, the perfect, rose-tinted, specially chosen, specially crafted, curated experiences that other people are putting out into the world, and we're comparing what they're presenting externally with what we're feeling internally, and it's never a good comparison. I don't know if you've heard the expression compare and despair, But that's pretty much what we're doing the entire time with social media. I was talking to a girl at the weekend, and she was telling me that she's come off Instagram. She doesn't use it anymore. And I said, well, why did you do that? And she said, well, because I was spending all of my time looking at other people, looking at other women. And maybe she's got a hotter boyfriend, or she's going on better holidays, or she's got, she's making more money, or she's got a better job, blah, blah, blah. And she said it was affecting my mental health. It was making me feel bad. And so eventually she just decided, okay, that's it. I'm coming off. I'm not going to be on Instagram anymore. And she deleted her account. That, I think, is a very healthy thing to do. But she's in an extreme minority, because most girls are not doing that. Okay, most women are not doing that. And so what we're left with then is this situation where women are looking at they're scrolling all the time. They're looking at what their friends are doing. They're looking at what other people are doing, and they're thinking, damn. And then they're looking at their current partner, and they're thinking, well, he doesn't really measure up. He's not of the caliber that he could be, or he's not providing me with the lifestyle. The lifestyle that we're having together is not what I would like, what it could be. The problem is, we're not just comparing ourselves. Back in the day, if you think, back in the day, the 1980s, the 1970s, 60s, 50s, whatever, we would be comparing ourselves to the people in our immediate vicinity, okay? We'd be comparing ourselves to the neighbors, to the people in the local town or whatever. And there would still be compare and despair. But now we're comparing ourselves to not just our friends, but also normal people. I say normal people on social media who've built up their social media, and they've got a very, maybe a big following, and they're showcasing this very curated lifestyle. And we're also comparing ourselves against some of the top celebrities in the world, and it's all blurring into one thing, because you can look at, I don't know, Beyonce's Instagram, and then you can look at a girl with 200,000 followers Instagram, and then you can look at your friend with 60,000 followers, but she goes on all these expensive holidays. And you can get this impression of being like, shit, just everybody is living a better life than me. Now, I think this affects men, as well, but I think it affects women more. I think women are very status driven. I think women are very conscious of what other people are doing, what other people are getting. And I think that it really negatively affects relationships, okay? Because if you're a girl and maybe, look, no judgment here, maybe you do care about things like handbags. Maybe you care about designer labels, okay? Maybe you care about expensive holidays. And you're looking and you're seeing other people and they're getting more of that stuff than you are, then that's not going to be a good psychological place for you to be in. And the problem is, then you're going to look at the dude that you're with and you're going to be thinking, well, wait a minute, he's not facilitating this stuff. I'm not saying you're a gold digger, but it's just like, there's, even in the purest girl's heart, who doesn't have that an ounce of that gold digger energy in her, but still, there's got to be a part of you that thinks, well, hang on a minute. I mean, I'm dating this dude, but he's working in the post office. Like, if I was dating somebody like over here, then we'd just be having a more fun life. We'd just be doing more cool stuff. That must come to mind, surely, even to a girl who otherwise would never really be, not really a gold digger, but just like, surely just that enjoyment of life, it must come into the equation, okay? So looking at these other people's existences and comparing our own to that, for you guys, for women doing this, it's really fucking up your sense of perspective. And in many cases, it's making you back away from guys who otherwise are probably very, very good guys, who are probably very, very good for you in other ways, okay? And that is a terrible, terrible thing, all right? So trying to at least limit social media, or at least trying to sort of push back on social media a little bit and recognize, because, and here's the other thing, right? You don't need me to tell you this, but it's true. What people put on social media is mainly bullshit, or at least it's mainly, they're showing you the success reel, right? They're showing you the highlights reel on social media. They're not showing you the boring bits. They're not showing you the delays at the airport, or, you couldn't get into the lounge because it was booked out, and then you had to sit in the Burger King, and the food was cold, and then the plane was delayed by 3 hours, and, blah, 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 and you had an argument with your partner, and all of this shit. They're not showing you all the crappy parts. They're just showing you the really good parts. And you look at that and you think, oh my God. And then you compare the crappy parts of your life to the good parts of their life, and it makes you feel bad. And then, as a girl, you know, and look, women have a bigger problem here because they're also confounded by choice. Okay, they have too much choice. Basically, too many guys throwing themselves, metaphorically, you know, throwing dick pics at them in the DMs, and you know, that's a problem as well. Because it doesn't take very much temptation to think, well, maybe the grass is a little bit greener over here. And that leads me on to the next point. And let's actually just have a look at these comments, because there's a few of these. So, Raging Tomato says, I have a lot of thoughts. And Raging Tomato is a lady, by the way. I did a speed date with her on Playing with Fire last year. She says, I have a lot of thoughts on this. Honestly, just be healthy, focus on yourself, and always seek to improve. You don't have to be a Superman or Channing Tatum, but you can be lazy. Yeah, sure. Okay. If a man can't take care of himself, then how is he supposed to take care of his lady? Yep, I would agree. Don DeMarco says, was just watching your Milan video, Troy, but yeah, I sort of have to play down being a good guy. It doesn't help me at all. Well, we're going to be doing one of these where we're going to be talking to men this week as well. We're going to do 10 dumb mistakes that men make in dating. So we will sort of go into the male side of this a little bit more later on in the week. All right, so the Raging Tomato says, had to take a call, so I'm catching up on two times, but the fuckboy energy is not attractive. Maybe there are some women who entertain it, but I don't think it's as popular as you claim. Okay, well, I mean, you know, yeah, I take your point. There is some data to suggest that dark triad characteristics, which are, as you know, psychopathy, narcissism, and Machiavellianism, there is data to suggest that those are favored by women, and people and guys who have those characteristics are seen as more attractive by women. So there is some data on this, but I take your point. I mean, there's also, I know plenty of relationships where the guy is not some. Well, I mean, there's shades of all of this stuff, isn't there? 50 Shades of Troy. I mean, there's shades of all of this stuff. It's not that you have to be this complete kind of antisocial kind of Patrick Bateman type character, but I think having a little bit of what we call edge, and I'm doing a course which could be opening very soon with James Tusk, by the way, guys, called The Edge, which will help you to learn about this stuff in more detail. I think having a little bit of that kind of is it bad boy energy, or is it just a certain rebelliousness, a certain risk-takingness, a certain sort of disregard for social niceties? I think having a bit of that generally is seen as being quite attractive by women, whereas guys who are very sort of straight down the line and a bit Ned Flanders-ish, I find those guys seem to do less well. But look, I mean, it's hard to really prove this in any kind of scientific way, but this is just what I've observed. Mike C says, hi Troy, love your books and video, great energy, thank you so much. Raging Tomato says, yeah, thanks very much, Mike. Raging Tomato says, well, duh, social media is a joke. Anyone who lives by it is comparable. Staple probably has bigger problems with insecurities anyway. Sure. Yeah, no, I agree, but I think it's sort of hard to escape the psychological effect that it has, because I think that the hindbrain, or the subconscious, I think finds it very difficult to distinguish between what is real and what is not. So yes, on the one level, we all know intellectually that if you see a picture of a girl on a yacht and she's, like I was looking at some pictures of this girl I know from Milan, she's on the yacht in Miami, she looks like she's having a great time, blah, blah, blah. Maybe she was, but I certainly know she's got a lot of problems going on in the background, okay? We know that intellectually, but just seeing those images, I'm not sure that our subconscious mind can, in the moment, tell itself, yes, but this isn't real, this is kind of fake, this is kind of performative. SJ, good to see you, man. How can she exit with cash and prizes if she has nothing? Rollo Troy Francis. And then over 30s female choice changes. Yes, it does. And yeah, it does. So, I mean, what I'm talking about, a lot of the stuff I'm talking about in this list here, pertains to, I would say, younger women. I would say women who are sort of in their 20s to early 30s. And yes, you're right. If you look at Rollo's, if you read Rollo's Tomasi's work on this, what he says, what his argument is that, you know, women reach that epiphany stage, which tends to be the early 30s, sort of late 20s, early 30s, and suddenly they realize, oh shit, hang on a minute, I've done all this partying, I've slept with all of these handsome Chad, you know, jerk boys, and now all of a sudden I'm realizing, fuck, I need to settle down because time's running out and blah, 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 blah. So yeah, absolutely. They do start to change somewhat as they get into their 30s. And in some ways, it's paradoxical because in some ways women relax their standards. And this is why guys have this sense that, oh, if she's an older woman, it's going to be easier. You might think that, but then on the other hand, paradoxically, they can also sometimes make it more difficult for guys who are trying to get with them because the bridge is now, the bar is now higher because she's thinking, well, shit, I don't want to make that mistake of just sleeping with that jobless loser again. This time, I if I'm going to do something, it's got to be with somebody who there's the potential here to make it long term. And so, you know, what's his job like? What's his prospects looking like? Has he got a property? Has he got a 401k? Blah, blah, blah. And suddenly the bar actually gets higher for these women who are older. So it's kind of weird in a way. And then Don DeMarco says, yes, I have to mix in some of the dark triad. I think so. I mean, this is my observation. Obviously, the Raging Tomato doesn't agree or may not agree, but a lot of the guys that we teach, because we teach guys all over the world about dating skills and so on and so forth, and what we see a lot of the time, a big problem is that guys are too nice. And when I say too nice, it's not that being a good guy is a bad thing, but it's just that they present as bland and they present as somewhat submissive and they don't have anything. There's no excitement there. There's no emotion created in the woman. It's all just a bit beige and a bit meh. And I think that's what I'm talking about. Raging Tomato says, I kind of agree, SJ, but I'd say dating in my early 20s versus my 30s now, I still have the same principles and interest levels, although I don't tolerate as much bullshit as I once did. Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, look, obviously, we're kind of talking generalities here. Every woman is different. Every woman's an individual. We accept that, but at the same time, there are some overall patterns that we can talk about, and that's what I'm trying to do here. And then Alma says, "I'm glad to be married." Yes, absolutely. Well, you know, you've reached the other side successfully, so congratulations. Okay, so the next one, which is number 6 in 10 mistakes that women make in dating, is low impulse control. Or another way of putting that is looking for short-term fun versus long-term value, okay? And this is really centering in on the point that I was making before. And again, this is not unique to women. This is something we all do because we're in this dopamine-driven society where we're all looking for that next high, okay? But I think that we're in this kind of unique period in history where suddenly women are inundated with opportunities, sexual opportunities, from guys, and probably pretty high-value guys, in many cases, from all over the planet. And it must be like being a kid in a candy store for these women. If you're an attractive young woman who's 22, 23, you're going to be getting a lot of offers from all over the place. Now, granted, a lot of those offers are going to be from very, very strange, socially abnormal men who you wouldn't touch with a barge pole. I get it. I understand that. I understand that your DMs are not full of messages from, you know, Channing Tatum or whatever. However, the reality is that we all know it would be far easier for an attractive young woman to walk into the bar and to get a sexual, conquest that night. It's far easier for her to do that than for a young guy to do the same thing, okay? All things being equal, all right? So women do have this outrageous sort of choice of sexual partner, sexual opportunity, okay? And because of social media and because of the global nature of the internet, this is now from all over the planet. So we're not just talking about Dave from the local bar, we're talking about Stavros over in, on his yacht, or we're talking about this dude in Miami who owns a hedge fund, or, whatever it is, okay? There's so many different opportunities out there. And it's no wonder, is it, that particularly for younger women, because who doesn't want to have fun, right? They say girls want to have fun. I think everyone wants to have fun. I mean, who doesn't want to have a fun time? All right. And I believe if I was, if I was a hot young woman, I'd be all over it like a rat up a drain pipe, I think. I mean, I would be on the sugar apps. I'd have an OnlyFans. I'd probably be all over Instagram. I'd be doing all kinds of stuff. And I would be taking advantage of the opportunities that were afforded to me. Now, a lot of these women, it's not that they are sleeping with men that they don't find attractive for money or something like that. But often what they're doing is they will sleep with guys who've got the full package as much as they can get it. So they'll find guys who are decent looking, who are in good shape, and have also got money and can also give them exciting opportunities. Okay, there are so many women that I know personally who are traveling the world the whole time, who are in Dubai, then they're in Miami, then they're in somewhere in Latin America, then they're in Paris. They're going all over the place and they're having this amazing lifestyle. Okay, now it's not because they are I mean, obviously, I don't know all of the intimate details, but from what I do know, it's not that they are sleeping with these horrendous, horrible, deformed, aging sugar daddies with massive beer guts and no hair and warts on their nose and stuff like that. What they're actually doing is they're getting the cream of the crop. They're getting guys who, they do consider to be sexy, they do consider to be attractive, they do want to fuck anyway, but also these guys are, maybe they're working in tech, maybe they've got their own business, maybe they, whatever it is. And they're offering them these amazing opportunities as well to go and party and have a great time. Who is not going to want to do that, okay? So it's no surprise that you've got attractive young women who are out there and they're living this lifestyle and they're having a great time. But, again, it comes down to low impulse control, doesn't it? Because the impulse is telling you, get on that plane, go to Miami, go to the boat party, meet Drake, have a fucking amazing time. Okay, and again, as I say, it's very hard. It's very easy to see why that would be hard to resist. But is that in line with the longer term goal? If the longer term goal is, well, actually, I kind of want to be not a housewife. I kind of want to settle down. I want to meet the right guy. I want to have a few kids, and I want to blah blah blah. Okay, the goals aren't really in accordance, but like many of us, the impulse control is low. So the tendency to just go, oh, fuck it, well, I'm just going to go and do that fun thing anyway, is very, very high. Now, yeah, you can kind of get away with that to some extent when you're young, but time, remember, is our most valuable asset. And what you're really doing when you're doing those sorts of trips, which are going to be cool at the time, but they're not really going to lead anywhere, what you're actually doing in the end is wasting your own time. Okay? You're not using that time in a productive manner. Take from that what you will. As I say, the problem with any of this advice on this list is that it's all about biology. It's all about your urges. It's all about what you're being drawn to as a woman, okay? And if you're being drawn to, well, I want to go to the party, I want to go to Dubai, I want to go to, the Basel Art Fair in Miami, and then I want to go to Switzerland, and then I want to do this, and blah, blah, blah. Yes, I understand that. But again, just take a pause and think about the longer term. Okay, and where you actually want to end up. And are the people that you're interacting with when you're in the nightclub in Vegas or whatever, are these people actually the kind of people who are going to bring good energy into your life? Are you going to meet the man of your dreams who's going to be the supportive, dutiful, caring husband? Are you going to meet that dude, while having cocaine sniffed off your butt on a yacht party somewhere in the Caribbean? I mean, probably not, right? So, again, it's about thinking about, okay, so what's the longer term goal here, and am I living in accordance with my values and that longer term goal? So SJ says it's that Beauty and the Beast fairy tale. They want to tame the beast. Troy Francis, when you got options, Drake don't settle. It'll be like a simp expecting a baddie. It's a bad exit strategy. I don't know. I need to look into it, actually. I don't know what Drake's relationship status actually is. I mean, often you get, really, if I was him, I would probably never settle down, because why would you bother, right? But he might be. Because often you get these very high value men and they will settle down. And look, at some point, Because the reality is, most dudes and most women they want to have kids at some point, right? They want to have a family. Now, what is the best way to do that? Well, there's debate around that, but probably the best way to do that really is to be in a couple with somebody and to raise the kids in a stable home, okay? I mean, that seems to be logical, okay? So you get someone like Cristiano Ronaldo who is married and has kids, okay? You could say, well, he could have just partied forever. But at some point, people have to make a choice. Now, whether a high-value celebrity of that kind is also cheating in the background or doing other stuff, that's another matter, okay? But I can see why, in many cases, guys will look to settle down. I mean, the person, of course, who's always bucked that trend thus far is Leonardo DiCaprio, who is nearing 50 and seems to be having a bloody good time. And personally, for me, I think he's doing it right, but, you know, opinions may vary on that, and we'll have to see what he does as he gets older, okay? The next one is number 7, 10 mistakes women make in dating. Get the ick too quickly. You guys, you need to chill a bit with getting the ick. And I know it's hard to say that because it's just a physiological kind of, it's just a natural thing. It's not necessarily something you feel like you can control. But for God's sake, if you are rejecting somebody because they use the wrong knife and fork, or they you just get these stupid things, don't you? Why women get the ick over guys. And by the way, if you're not familiar with the terminology, getting the ick is when some little thing that he does massively puts her off. And it can be something like the way that he cuts his hair one time, or the way that he responds when somebody asks him a question, or just stupid little things. And then suddenly it's like, okay, adios, he's out the door. Now, as before, biology is playing a role here, okay? We are attracted to certain things. We are not attracted to other things, and we are actually put off by certain things, and that's hard to control. But if you are a woman and you are consistently rejecting dudes just for these stupid petty reasons, and maybe even your friends are commenting on it. If your friends are commenting on it, that's a pretty good sign, okay? Your friends are saying, well, hang on a minute, come on, Julia. You know, you're saying because that guy used the wrong spoon when he was eating dessert, that's put you off and you're rejecting him. I mean, are you serious? If your friends are saying things like that to you, then maybe you need to have a look again at your standards and just at your expectations, and just be like, well, hang on a minute, I'm just being a complete fucking princess here. And the issue is, you might be ruling out guys who are otherwise good, decent men for these very, very superficial, stupid reasons. And the fact that this happens is another marker of the way that the modern dating marketplace is, which is basically that women are deluged with opportunities. And so to them, in many cases, men are kind of disposable, you know? I mean, I saw a tweet or an X post earlier from somebody who I follow. He follows me. And he wrote something like, you know, for younger women are really crap at having relationships, because for them, it's like men are buses, you know. We talk about people being like buses. You know, one comes along and then another 5 minutes later, another one comes along. So it's not a problem. If you miss one, you can just get on the next one. And my response to that is, well, yeah, but it is for them like men are buses. Again, if you are an attractive woman in the height of her fertility, in her prime, then you literally, you know, it is going to be, oh, there's one, oh, there's another one, oh, there's another one, oh, there's another one, right? It's like shooting fish in a barrel, okay? There is this surfeit, and we all know the paradox that too much choice actually makes making a real decision much more difficult, okay? If you've got a decision to make and it's between two things, that can be hard, but it's a lot easier than having to decide between 200 things, okay? And not even 200 things, but 200 things that are constantly renewing, okay? You know, there's constantly new opportunities coming along. There's constantly new new guys coming into the frame. There's constantly new. Oh, he was really hot. You know, he's working out at the gym. He looks fantastic. But then there's this other guy here, and he owns a nightclub in Venice, and so I could go to that, and that would be really cool. But then there's this other dude, and he wants to help me promote my music career, and so, you know, maybe I can hang with him for a bit. I mean, there's all of this crap going on, and there's more and more coming into the mix every week for women. Okay, and so then just disqualifying guys for stupid reasons is counter to probably the longer term goal, which is, again, probably because, you know, and this is the big problem that we see time and time again. All of this is great. The merry-go-round is fantastic, and it's fun, and it's glamorous, and it's exciting, and all of that, until the music stops. All right, until the music stops, and suddenly she's 30, she's 31, she's 32, 35, and it's like, oh shit, hang on a minute. I didn't actually meet that dude. I didn't actually, and now, you know, my options are looking less healthy than they were before. And people talk about the wall, and they talk about like, oh, you know, they talk about like, oh, you know, it's just like, you know, this woman's going to hit the wall, and then she's going to find nobody, and she's going to be a lonely old cat lady. And that's not necessarily true. So just recently, people have been talking about Riley Reid on social media. Now, Riley Reid, famous corn actress, famous adult entertainment star, been in loads and loads and loads of different movies. She's won all these different awards. Very, very famous for acting in all of these adult erotic films. And she now is married, and she has a family. Okay, and people were going crazy about it on X over the last couple of days, partly flaming her and saying, oh, you know, she's a hoe, she's this, she's the 304, she's that, blah, 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 and sort of saying she doesn't deserve it, or it shouldn't have happened. And then other people sort of defending her. You know, there were women who were defending her and saying, no, well, you know, and in many ways, some of the comments I saw from these women were correct, because the women were pushing back, and they were saying, well, all of you red pill guys, all of you guys think that there's going to be this great comeuppance for a woman who has had a promiscuous past and who has publicly done sex acts on camera and stuff. You know, you guys all think in your little bubble of red pillness that that woman's going to be punished, and she's going to be a sad cat lady who drinks wine all the time and dies a lonely death. And actually, here we see somebody like Riley Reid who's bucked that trend and seems to be happy, and she's actually got the cash and prizes at the end. You know, she's got the husband, she's got the kid, etc. And I think those women are correct, actually. And that's not because I'm necessarily... It's not because I'm sort of saying, oh, so the red pill's all is nonsense. But on this particular issue, I think that the reality, the stark reality, is that there's always going to be a guy out there who is going to be prepared to step in and take on a woman, regardless of the promiscuity of her past. Now, then the question becomes, okay, but would a high value man do that? Okay, would a sufficiently high value man do that? And I think with that, it depends, really. It depends how you define a high value guy. I mean, there are plenty of guys who are high value. They make a lot of money. They have good job, you know, good careers. They have good status. They build their businesses, whatever, who are interested, or they're aware of this kind of content. They're aware of what you might call red pill content. But there's millions of others who have got no concept of this kind of stuff. And they, frankly, probably don't really care. Okay, and if they think she's attractive, and if they genuinely think she's changed, and if they genuinely think, okay, right, I'm going to give her a chance, then they're going to, you know, it's going to happen, okay? So I don't necessarily believe in the wall in quite the way that people will always talk about it, because I think there's always going to be somebody out there who's going to come in and scoop up the, you know, who's going to come into the rescue, you know, the white knight who's going to come in on the horse to the rescue sort of thing. But, you know, at the same time, what you have to accept is that if all women are fighting over this mythical, you know, top sort of percentile of men, and the competition is fierce even for young women, then for the woman who is even older, who's still fighting for those same dudes, that competition is only going to become fiercer, because guys who are older, they're still going for the younger women, you know? So inevitably it's going to get harder. So perhaps Riley Reid, and she's married to a guy who is, what does he do? He does that crazy kind of jumping off buildings and all that kind of stuff, you know. So he's in great shape, and he's obviously got his own thing going on. He seems to be a pretty talented guy. Whatever. Okay, great. Well, that's great for her. Is she a bit of an outlier? Probably, yeah, to be honest. Probably, yes. Is it advisable for a woman to have a massive porn career and just think, oh, it's fine, I'll pick up the pieces afterwards? No, of course not. It seems like she's done well. It seems like she's maybe lucked out with this particular guy, although who knows what will happen in the long term. But it certainly the competition is going to become fiercer as a woman as you get older, and you're looking to consolidate. You're looking to meet that guy who is going to be the one, you know, who's going to sort of tick all of those boxes. Raging Tomato says, well, actually, SJ says the world's most hated man is married now. It happens. Who's that? Who's the world's most hated man? Raging Tomato, Leo is doing great. Anyone who shames him is a moron. Yes, I'd agree. Raging Tomato, ick factor. My grandmother always said that the little thing bothers you. If a little thing bothers you now, it'll only get worse later. If it grosses you out, then move on. But if it's a pattern, it's probably her own problems. Yes, I agree with that. I agree with that. I mean, again, there's all shades to this stuff. I'm not saying, okay, if the guy's an idiot and he's doing something really fucking annoying, just let it pass. I'm not saying that, of course. But as Raging Tomato says here, if you find yourself consistently doing this, so people are commenting and they're going, oh, you dump these guys for the most stupid reasons, then you've got to think, well, am I being a bit too picky here? And why am I being too picky? And am I actually being avoidant, right? You know, that's the other thing. I think actually we haven't really talked about this, but I think this whole culture actually encourages emotional avoidance in women. Now, I'm quite avoidant myself in many ways. I've become more avoidant over the years. I've tended to push people away. I've tended to sort of be in more casual things rather than trying to get into anything more serious. That's just, you know, that's just how I am at the moment, right? But I think the way the culture is actually encouraging a lot of women to be very avoidant, particularly in their younger years. Now, is that a good or a bad thing? Well, you know, I don't know really. It's the jury's out. But it really, if received wisdom is, well, actually, we all want a kind of a nurturing, fulfilling relationship with somebody who really understands us and gets us on a deeper level. It can't be a good thing that we're in this culture that is atomizing us further, and it's pushing us further and further into isolation and avoidance. Hello, everyone, says Joe Ward. She is not happy and has had a divorce. Also has said multiple times that she's crying about her past. So talking about Riley Reid there, I think. Yeah, I've seen interviews with her where she's you know, talking about her past and saying she wouldn't advise young people to get into it and stuff like that, which, you know, fair enough. And by the way, Tiffany Fox, my friend Tiffany Fox, who I did the Magnetic Sexual Confidence course with, she's in this space. You may have seen her on various different shows and things like that. She is basically saying the same thing because she worked in adult entertainment, and she's now basically got a platform and saying to women, look, don't get into this because it is going to cause you problems down the line. So absolutely, I don't think porn is a good idea I don't think corn is a good idea for anybody. Absolutely, I completely agree with that. You just described Destiny. Gets the divorce he deserves. Ha ha ha. He was going to destroy the Riley Reid as a passport, bro. Destiny. He was going to destroy the red pill. Yeah, I haven't been following all of that as closely as maybe I should have been. I mean, I think it's you know, it's a sad state of affairs for him. But I mean, you know, who would have thought that allowing your wife to go and have sex with multiple other people would not be a good idea? I mean, who could possibly have predicted that? You know, it's I don't know. It wouldn't have been for me. Marriage causes divorce. Good to see you, man, by the way. Thank you for tuning in here. And by the way, anybody who's on here, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do so. This is my new channel. We're going to be doing a lot more content like this. And we're going to be doing some call-ins where we get people to actually phone in with their problems. We're going to discuss them live. We're going to be doing street interviews, loads and loads of cool stuff coming up on here. Troy, what do you think of psychological attachment styles, avoidant, secure, anxious? I think there is, I'm not an expert on it, but I think there is definitely truth in it. Like I said, I've done a number of those personality quizzes. And initially, I came out as being there's a sort of a weird one that's kind of in between, which is called anxious avoidant or something, or like confused avoidant or something. And I was coming out as that, which is this weird mixture between you're quite needy around the person and you actually really want them, but at the same time you don't want them. And that's very difficult. And I've definitely exhibited that before. Right now, I seem to be coming out as more avoidant, where I'm just like, look, no, don't want it. Don't want a relationship. You know, I'm happy to have something casual, have something fun. Don't want anything more serious. And I think that's just reflected where I am in life right now. And then on the other hand, you've got then the people who are secure, who are basically the people where everything's kind of okay. You know, they had a great family background, great role models, maybe in their parents, saw a great example of marriage in their parents, and now they're just like, yep, it's all cool, you know, and they're very healthy, and they're very healthy in their boundaries and all that crap. And I think there are people like that as well. So I do think that there's something in it, definitely. I really do. And I think understanding where you sit in that matrix is a useful thing, or at least it's an interesting thing. Anyway, as I say, I diagnose myself as an avoidant, and that's how it is. And I'm not particularly looking to change that or anything really, but I think it's kind of fascinating to look into it. Whether it really helps you out there dating, though, I don't know. Well, I suppose it does actually, and it goes back to the third point that I made in this list of 10 mistakes women make in dating. So I was saying that they entertain fuckboy energy, okay? And I suppose relating to this, if you're a woman and you are dating a guy who seems to be avoidant, and you should be able to tell pretty easily if he's avoidant, you know, how much time is he spending with you? How frequently does he message you? Is he messaging back a lot? Is he, you know, you should be able to tell from various things how into it he seems to be. If you get the sense that he's avoidant, really you need to cut him loose at some point, okay? And don't entertain that energy for too long, because he probably isn't avoidant, and he probably has no intention of making anything more serious with you, and you're probably just wasting your time, all right? Okay, so now the next one, which is number 8, is a slightly more controversial one. 10 mistakes women make in dating. Number 8, they are not prepared to turn a blind eye, and they want a high-value man without facing up to the consequences of that. This is, as I say, a bit more controversial. What I really mean here is that all of these women on these panel shows, Fresh and Fit, etc., they all say that they want this high-value dude, okay? They want the guy who's earning all this money, who's super good-looking, who's ripped, who's tall, who's etc., who's got a yacht and blah, blah, blah. But would they want him to cheat? No, they absolutely wouldn't want him to cheat, okay? And that is a problem. And the reason it's a problem is because the high-value man, the archetypal high-value guy, is going to have a lot of options, like women have a lot of options, okay? You've got this small percent at the top here of dudes who've got a shitload of options, and then you've got all of these women who are aged 18 to 25 who've also got a shitload of options. And then you've got all the other men, and you've got various sort of outlier women. But the only people who are even approximating the sexual power that women have in their peak are high-value men. High-value men are also getting inundated with offers, or at least they're getting a lot more sexual access than the average guy in the street, okay? Men's sexual imperative is also to spread their seed, right? Men really, deep down, want variety. And any guy that says that he doesn't is lying about it, or he's gaslighting himself. So the high-value man who doesn't act out on the opportunities that he has, at least some of the time, is extremely rare. That's a unicorn. You're not going to find that guy. And if you do find that guy, you almost have to question why he isn't acting on those principles. You know, it might be that he's religious. It might be that he is working to a moral code. Some would say laudable, others would say foolish, whatever. Okay? Out of choice, he might be limiting his behavior. But the truth of the matter is that all guys would love to have unlimited sexual opportunity. A very small number do. And if they've reached that position because they've worked very hard, they made a lot of money, they have high status, they've worked on their physique, etc., you can bet your life they're going to be exercising their opportunities in that arena, at least sometimes, okay? Now, when I've been on panels with high-value guys, people like Jay Waller and maybe the Tates and so on and so forth, what a lot of these dudes will say is broadly the same, which is like, look, I can be absolutely in love with a woman. I can be absolutely in love with my main woman, you know, my queen bee or whatever it is. But I'm still going to want a bit of variety from time to time. I'm still going to want a little bit of fun here and there. And what she needs to accept is that she is number one in the hierarchy, and that is unchangeable and unshakable. However, occasionally I might go out for, if she's the steak, I might go out for a cheeseburger. Occasionally. Not all the time. It's not going to mean anything emotionally. It's not going to be this super important thing. It's going to be meaningless. It's going to be just sex. It's going to be a pure physical feeling that's going to last for a brief amount of time, and then it's going to be over, and then he's back to her, and she is the queen. She remains number one on the totem pole. But many women are not prepared to accept this. Now, there is an idea in the red pill that that's not true. That, oh no, she will be prepared to share an alpha, and there's some validity to that. You know, there will certainly be women who will sleep with somebody like, say, Drake, or like a top entertainer, knowing full well that she's not going to be the only one, and she'll do it just because she wants to have that sexual experience at that point. Whether she would enter into something more serious with a guy on the understanding that he's going to maybe mess around a little bit sometimes is more questionable. Okay? And again, if you're a woman, you need to be more realistic about this stuff. You need to appreciate that if you are going for this top tier guy, he's going to want to exercise those sexual options. But more broadly than that, he's also just going to want to do his own thing. Right? He's not necessarily going to be involving you in all the minutiae of his business. He's not necessarily going to be, he might want to just travel. He might say, hey, listen, babe, I've got to go to Mexico for a few days. Call me if you need me. I'll see you later, and then just go, right? He's going to want autonomy. He's going to want to be able to do his own thing. He's going to want to be a mover and shaker in his own life, okay? It doesn't mean that he loves you less. It just means that he's got shit going on, okay? And a lot of women won't accept that, or will find that very difficult to accept. So they kind of want the high value man in theory, but then they're also going to want to really control him and really control his behavior, and certainly his sexual behavior. Okay. And that's kind of like, it's kind of like wanting a baby tiger, but not accepting the fact that it's got sharp claws and it may hurt if it scratches you sometimes, it's like, you've got to, if you want the prize, you've got to accept the terms and conditions that come along with that prize. And too many women are not prepared to be flexible on that point. Now, I'm not saying cheating is a good thing. I'm not saying infidelity is good. I am saying, though, it's a human thing. I am saying it's the thing that happens anyway. It's it's going to continue to happen. It happens on both sides, both genders. And, so you've got to decide, all right, would I rather be the beloved wife of somebody who, occasionally maybe goes and has a little bit of fun here and there? Or do I settle for a lower tier guy who doesn't have those options, but would probably cheat with a boiler anyway if he gets half a chance? Okay? This is what you need to think about. Again, pragmatism, guys, so important in dating. Number 9, again, slightly contentious, but I think it's valid, and that is 10 mistakes women make in dating. Number 9, they will put themselves in situations of temptation, okay? And here I'm talking about the club, I'm talking about Instagram, I'm talking about if you remain on the dating apps when you're with somebody, and all of that good stuff. Now, this gets into the whole issue of sort of coercive control and, should a man demand when he starts dating this woman that she gets off Instagram and all this kind of stuff. And it all gets very contentious and very prickly. And I can see both sides to an extent. But the issue here is if you are in something serious with a guy and you are going to the club every Friday and shaking your booty, or you are putting, kind of suggestive pictures up on social media and stuff like that, or certainly if you're still on dating apps, and a lot of people do obviously come off dating apps when they meet a partner, but, some people secretly don't. And what you're doing there, not only is that disrespectful to your guy, but also you are putting yourself into, whether this is you're consciously doing it because you're not sure about the guy, or subconsciously doing it because you're not sure about the guy, or you're just doing it because you like attention or whatever. But you are putting yourself into situations where you are going to be tempted, okay? Because the truth of the matter is, I can go to the nightclub, which I did in Miami, when I was with Fresh, and Fresh was with this girl, and I was kind of on my own, and I was standing around on my own, and nobody, well, a couple of girls smiled at me, actually, to be fair. I was looking pretty sharp. I was wearing this jacket, you know, nice shirt. I was looking pretty sharp, and I did get a couple of smiles. But in general, you know, there weren't girls coming up to me hitting on me, right? Because I'm a dude, right? So, like, I can go to the club, and nothing very much need happen, unless I make something happen, okay? But if you're a girl, if I was a hot girl and I'm standing by the bar on my own, I'm going to get guys coming up to me. I'm going to get guys offering me drinks. I'm going to get guys offering to take me out, to take me home, to take me to another venue. And it's the same thing on Instagram. You know, I'm going to get guys coming into my DMs. I'm going to, on dating apps, obviously I'm going to be inundated with offers on the dating apps and stuff. So women don't really have to do anything in these scenarios, whether online or in real life, in order to have opportunities presented to themselves. And it is qualitatively different than for men, okay, in most cases. Now, that's fine, and you can say, okay, well, she loves her partner, so what does it matter if some dude's hitting on her in the club? But it's just not a very good frame to put yourself in. It's not a very good position to put yourself in, because you might meet somebody who kind of is a bit hotter than the dude you're with, or who kind of is richer, or kind of has a more exciting life, or a combination of those things. And then what do you do? You know, what do you do? I mean, as I say, I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? We are what's the word? The cruelty of choice, the tyranny, of choice, okay, is all around us. And it's particularly around us for attractive women, because, you know, you're like, oh, I'm with Dave and he's great and he's decent looking, and, you know, he started working on Wall Street. I think he's going to start making some good money soon. And yeah, I'm feeling really great about this relationship. Then you put on a nice dress, you go to the club, and suddenly you get hit on by this dude who's like a multimillionaire. And he's kind of looks a bit like Dave, but maybe he's slightly better looking. He's slightly taller. He's a bit more in shape. And then suddenly you're thinking, well, hang on a minute, Dave's great, but what about this dude? You know, that tyranny of choice, it makes things very, very difficult. And I'm not condoning infidelity on the female part, and I'm not condoning a woman just sacking off her boyfriend because she meets someone better. That's terrible behavior. But at the same time, I can understand how that must be tempting, and I can understand how that must cause at least a dilemma for women on occasion, where they're like, fuck, actually, if I was with this guy, would things be better? You know, where do I go with this? Now, it's up to each woman in those cases what she does, but I would suggest that if you're putting yourself into those situations, not only are you endangering your relationship and being disrespectful to your dude, but also you are making things harder for yourself, okay? Because you are presenting yourself with more choice, and all human beings find choice very difficult, okay? So I would consider, well, I'd certainly stop going to the club. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, clubs are boring as fuck anyway. Like, what are you doing? Stop going to the club. If you get Instagram, I mean, certainly get off the dating apps if you're seeing somebody, if you're into something with somebody. Instagram, you know, maybe make sure the pictures are fairly modest, or, you know, start posting some nice pictures of your dinner or landscape shots or something instead. But yeah, don't put yourself into these positions of temptation, because it's not good for anybody, but it's not good for you, you know? I mean, life's hard enough already without having to continually making things more difficult for you. All right, and then number 10, let's just have a quick look at these. Marriage causes divorce. Troy, if she really likes the guy, would she be going to the club? Well, yeah, good point. But I mean, it depends at what stage they are in the relationship and what kind of girl she is. I mean, there's different factors involved. I mean, there are some girls who are they're so invested in that lifestyle that they would not see a conflict between, they're not suddenly going to become a trad overnight. and say it's in the relatively early stages of the relationship, but she's still got friends and they still want to go out, and she kind of wants to go out as well because she's very invested in a certain scene, I think she would absolutely square that with, no, this is my man, I'm 100% serious about him, but I still like to go to the club, I still like to party. So it's a bit of a moot point. I don't think there are many women in today's day and age who are just going to be like, oh, well, I've been dating this man for 2 months, so no, I'm never going to go to the club again. I think that's a little bit unrealistic. It might be desirable, but I don't think it's realistic. And I don't think it necessarily means she doesn't like the guy. I just think it means, she just doesn't really think about it. She just thinks, well, I want to go to the club. Yes, okay. So, and then he makes a good point. Women have plausible deniability in the club. It's not her fault she got hit on. Absolutely. And I think that is a key thing. And this is why I was saying, subconsciously, is that woman going to the club? Why is she going to the club, really? Why is she on Instagram posting those pictures? She can say, and she can convince herself, well, I'm doing it because I want to be out with my friends, or I like to party, or I just like to post pictures of myself and whatever. But we all know that women love attention, okay? But is there an even deeper desire here, which is actually, I do kind of want to see if I can make something happen, or I do want to see what happens here, Because we all like a bit of variety, don't we? So, and if that is your intention and you're a woman and you're not really serious about that guy, fine, do you. That's, whatever you're going to do. But I think if you are relatively serious about the guy, or, and looking at your longer term goal, if your goal is to be in a relationship and to make that work, why put yourself through the discomfort of a situation where you're being hit on by a dude who maybe is a bit better than your current guy? Because then what do? You're just making life more difficult for yourself, not less difficult for yourself. And then number 10 in this list of 10 mistakes that women make in dating is listening to their friends too much, stroke having dumb female friends. Now, any guy out there who's dated women, any woman really, or a variety of women, will know that you're not just dating her. She comes along with a coterie of these friends, a mixed bag of these, like the three witches in Macbeth who are sort of cackling in the background, ha ha ha, bubble, bubble, toil and trouble. And, some of them may be really nice, others of them may like you, others may not like you, whatever. And you've obviously got to kind of try to keep them on side to a greater extent, if possible, because they are going to influence the way that your girl thinks and maybe decisions that she makes down the line. I think sometimes... And look, I'm not saying girls shouldn't have friends or anything. I mean, obviously, everyone needs to have a social life. You need to have friends. However, I think sometimes women listen to their friends a bit too much, okay, and they put too much credence on what their friends say. And the problem is that, and I experienced this with my ex and other girls that I've dated. The problem is the friends don't really know the dynamics of the relationship. The friends will take a surface glance, and often it will be anti the guy, because they're trying to be defensive of their girl. And it will be like, no, he's an asshole, get rid of him, dump him, on to the next. And you've got to look at their motivation as well, because sometimes that might be valid. Other times, it might be because she's single, and she secretly somehow doesn't want to see the friend, your girlfriend, she kind of doesn't want to see her happy. Or she'd rather that your girlfriend was single again so that they could go out and they could party and have a great time. Or she just doesn't like you. She's got some kind of personal vendetta against you. Or she's jealous because she kind of thinks you're attractive and she's sort of jealous that the friends with you. I mean, there's so many different reasons that might come into this. And I think women will often pay a lot of credence to what their friends say, and only after the fact, when they've split up with the guy, be like, oh fuck, actually maybe I shouldn't have done that, maybe actually my boyfriend was a good guy and these girls were wrong and they kind of led me down the wrong path. Okay, so I would say, as a woman, if you're watching this and you're, yes, obviously pay attention to what your female friends say, but you've got to carefully consider, how much do you trust them, and why are they saying these things? Okay, and do you trust that they're coming from the right place with the advice that they're bringing to you? And I certainly wouldn't end a relationship or do anything drastic just on the say-so of a friend. You know, you've got to take into account your own gut feeling on this thing. Okay. Proceed with caution, I suppose, is all I'm saying. I think sometimes, and I say this also as a guy with male friends, I mean, I think sometimes their advice can be great. Other times, you've got to think, well, okay, I take it on board, but actually, I'm going to go my own way on this thing, on this particular thing. So be careful of that. And the other thing is that girls can sometimes have really dumb friends as well. I mean, I was talking to this girl I know in Milan last night, and she was telling me this absolutely crazy story about how she's been friends with this girl for many years. You know, they were friends at school, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, they were staying in this hotel overnight in Milan on New Year's Eve, and this my girl's handbag got stolen. Her Prada handbag got stolen. And so my girl went crazy, and she was ill as well. She'd been suffering from some kind of infection, and so she was really ill. She was feeling like crap. Her handbag gets stolen, expensive handbag. So she goes crazy. She starts screaming the place down. She calls the management. There's this big hoo-ha. They go to the manager's office, and my girl demands to see the camera footage. She's like, no, I need to see this footage. You need to show me. I need to see one of your staff has stolen my bag. I'm going to get them fired, and, you know, causing all of this crap. And the manager basically takes her to one side and says, look, the reality is, like, how well do you know this girl that you're with? And she says, well, I know her really well. We've known each other since school. And the manager says, look, it was your friend who's stolen the bag. And my girl says, no, don't be stupid. That's ridiculous. She says, no, I'll show you. Let me prove it. And he showed her on the security tape. And when the security tape was played back, my girl saw her friend taking the bag and putting it into her luggage, or, you know, whatever it is that she did. And then, so they confronted the girl, they confronted the friend, and the friend was like, now trying to blame my girl for it and saying, oh, all right, yes, I did steal your handbag, but it's because you did this to me, and it's because you did that, and it's because you did the other, and it's all your fault, and trying to push it back on her, which is obviously absolutely ridiculous. And then they had this big argument, and then my girl was also paying for the hotel room, and this other girl had racked up a load of bills on the hotel room and stuff like that. And then she ended up having to pay these bills for this other girl who didn't have any money and all that kind of stuff. And so my girl said to her, listen, you know, I'm going to pay this. Fine, whatever, but I'm never going to speak to you. I'm not going to speak to you again because, you know, you're a bad person. You've done this to me. I can't believe you've done this, etc. Fine. And now they're no longer friends. Now, I tell that story because it's quite funny, and somebody told me yesterday, so I thought I'd share it. But I suppose the bigger point is that how can I put this? I've certainly known a number of female friendships to blow up in that kind of way over the years. And I'm not saying women are bad judges of character or whatever, but you know, just think about what you're doing, because you might be going on the say-so of somebody who, you know, may not even be your friend in the next year or so, right? You know, like, you know, how well do you know that person? Where's that person's intentions coming from? You know, what are they really, you know? And so I just think sometimes the relationship between a man and a woman is very intimate. Nobody outside of that relationship can really know all of the ins and outs of it, what's really going on. And so your friends can give you some sort of perspective, but in the end, it's really only you who actually knows what's going on. So avoid dumb friends, and just be a little bit careful about taking the advice of friends on board too seriously, and not using your own common sense and your own gut instinct as well. Okay, any more comments? Put them into the chat on any of this stuff. But let me just go through the list again. 10 dumb mistakes that women make in dating in 2024. Well, you're too fat, you're unfit, you're out of shape. Okay, that's number one. Number two, your expectations are too high. You need to moderate your expectations in terms of the kind of guy that you can get. Number three, entertaining fuckboy energy. Just going out with guys that you know full well are not serious about you, and you're not pushing them for commitment because you know that they will just dump you if you do so. Number four, on the flip side of that, you're staying far too long in relationships that are merely comfortable, but you know are going to come to an end at some point. You're not cutting them off ruthlessly enough. You're not moving forward with your own best interests in mind. Number 5, you believe everything that you see on social media and you compare and despair against that. Number 6, you have low impulse control. You're going for short-term fun versus the long-term goal, which in many cases is to have a relationship and to settle down and probably have a few kids as well. Number 7, you get the ick far too quickly. And part and parcel of that is thinking that the grass is always greener on the other side. You know, there's always going to be a guy who's better over there because they come along like buses and blah, 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 okay? And maybe just trying to be a little bit more accepting of people's smaller flaws, okay? Number 8, you're not prepared to turn a blind eye to the behavior of the kind of guys that you would probably really want to be with. That is to say, the high-value guys. You know, you want the high-value guy, but you want the high-value guy without the problems that come along with that, and that's not going to serve you. So have a look at that. Number 9, you put yourself into situations of temptation, like going to clubs, being on Instagram, being on dating apps and things like that, which not only is disrespectful to the guy that you're with, but also makes things difficult for you because it means that you have that tyranny of choice hanging over you the whole time. And number 10, you're listening to your friends too much and you're engaging with female friends who are pretty dumb and maybe don't have your best interests at heart. So those are 10 mistakes that women make in dating in 2024. Try to avoid those. You know, try to go into 2024 with a little bit more of a clean slate. We're going to be doing a bunch of these this week, I think on Thursday as well. For guys, we're going to be talking about the stupid mistakes that guys make in dating, and believe me, there are many of them. And with all of these things, you know, we probably could have done a lot more than 10, so maybe we'll return to this at some point in the future. So let me know what you think in the comments below. If you agree with these, if you disagree with these, if you want to see more of this kind of content aimed at women, you know, more of this kind of content where we are trying to help women a bit with their own dating strategies because they don't necessarily have it as easy as we think either. Do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit the notifications bell and do share this out on social media so that other people can see it. We can push up those subscribers. We can hit 1,000 subs and we can then go to the moon with this. Because really, what I want this to be is a one-stop shop for actionable information as well as entertainment around this whole subject of dating and modern relationships. So how to get the Riz, basically. You know, how to get the Riz if you're a guy or a girl. And also just what the hell's going on out there with some of this crazy shit, because there's so much crazy stuff happening in the media, in the news, in terms of dating, in terms of relationships, the stuff that celebrities are doing, infidelity going through the roof, divorces, AI girlfriends, sex robots. I mean, it's just a nutty world out there, right? So we want to unpick it and we want to find out how to navigate it in the best way possible. So, as I say, keep tuned. When you hit that notifications bell, it's going to let you know when new videos are coming out. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. And I will see you guys again very soon. Bye-bye.